Hello
Why
and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. Benji is eating, so we're just going to watch him.
This is going to be a stupid clickbait bit at the start of the video, and everyone's going to laugh at me, and it's going to be a roll intro now.
Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I am James, and I'm joined by Zach. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm brilliant, James. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. And I'm joined by Benji. How you doing, mate?
I'm great. Glad to talk about some IPL. Can't wait.
Me too. So today we're going to talk about my beloved Punjab Kings. We're going to talk about Delhi Capitals, and we're going to talk about the team with the new name, Ahmedabad Titans. So starting off with Punjab Kings, and I will kick this off because I'm an absolute expert. We only retained two players because all of the others have not done well enough, or they don't want to be part of our team anymore. Because, well, we have underperformed for the past 14 seasons. So in terms of players that we've retained, we've got Mayank Agarwal, the top order batsman, and I hope the future captain, because I like him. He's a very likable person. And Arshdeep Singh, left arm seamer, who, despite his very young age, he's shown himself to really have some stones. He's a bit of a badass. So in terms of players we need, if you don't think Mayank's good enough, a new captain, we need a new wicket keeper, and we need, I just wrote middle order. Like, we need a middle order because we haven't had one for 14 years. You know what? That's a lie. We've had some middle order batsmen in our time, but we haven't had it all at one time. So that's what we need. Zach.
Well, I'm actually gonna go in a completely different direction to what you've said in terms of who I think you need, because there's the old saying, batsmen win your games, bowlers win your tournaments. And Arshdeep Singh, although he's an exciting young player, he's not going to win you the tournament. He might have a decent season. And I think you need someone like Kagisa Rabada, an exciting, fast bowler who is going to take lots of wickets. You can guarantee that he's going to bowl well, decent economy rate. Because for years now, Punjab Kings, kind of like Royal Challengers, I guess, they've banked on their batsmen, they've banked on their top order, their middle order to win them the games, and it's not happened. And I think they need a fast bowler like Kagisa Rabada who's going to get them loads of wickets. What about you, Ben? What's your opinion?
I just love Punjab just to spend big first round of the whole auction and get Ashwin. It would just be perfect. Like, he would be going back to that team again. James would be really upset. He could be their captain. He could mancad Josh Butler again. Like, there's just so many great things that could happen if Ashwin. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, I think a top class seamer is very important. But I mean, you need some batsmen at Kings 11, let's be honest, or Punjab Kings as they're called now, and someone who's announced themselves big and has always been class in T20, but has had a specifically fantastic PSL is Jason Roy, who announced himself with 100 off about 41 deliveries only yesterday at time of recording. So, I mean, Jason Roy's in the second round of the auction. Maybe big pockets Punjab could really come in and make a big pickup. And wasn't Roy on your ideal Punjab 11, James?
He was certainly up there. I've made so many ideal Punjab 11s that I've lost count, to be completely honest with you. You know what? I want to take a little detour, because what you've said just there, talking about the PSL, it raises quite an interesting question in terms of auction strategy between all the teams. Because we've seen in the past that a lot of teams will go in with a bit of bias, especially recent tournament bias. So that's why, like, you know, with the Big Bash League that almost always comes just before the IPL, you see a lot of BBL players get picked up and a lot of them flop. And I'm thinking specifically of Jai Richardson and Riley Meredith, who Punjab Kings picked up, and they were rubbish. Another one, Moses Enriquez, I don't know how you say his name, but however you say his name, he was another one he's class in the BBL. He's a really good captain and a great middle order batsman for them. But as soon as he gets to India, he does very little. So I think, what do you think teams should do to combat tournament bias? Or do you think it's a good thing and it's the kind of strategy to go for?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it, because on one hand, you could think, well, let's take Jai Richardson, for example. He's a very good bowler. We can't take anything away from the fact that he's class. And part of his learning in that IPL was getting used to the different conditions. And I know they have to be bought to get the experience. So players like Josh Phillippe, who's done the same thing, they came into the IPL, didn't really do much. That they have to learn at some point. They have to get used to the conditions in India and be able to perform. Someone like Trent Bolt, for example, at the start, when he first started in the IPL, wasn't that successful, but over time he became successful. So I think in terms of the bowlers, if you want to win the tournament, which everyone wants to do, the key is go with experienced bowlers, because who are experienced with the Indian conditions, because that way you're guaranteed that they're going to offer you something. Now, Glenn Maxwell, I know he did not much for Punjab Kings, but he came in last season for Royal Challengers and did really well. And he had the experience. So I think that's the key, experience.
Is there an argument for Punjab specifically to, go with what they know and pick up Shami round one?
Or
there's
Avada.
certainly an argument. There's certainly an argument for that, because you're right, he is a known commodity. And, certainly I think Arshdeep Singh has learnt a lot from Shami. But at the same time, I don't think we should go hell for leather to buy Shami back, no matter the cost. I think because there are so many Indian fast bowlers out in the auction now, we can afford to sort of, we can have a budget set aside, but we can stick to that budget for them. Someone I do think we should splash out for is Ishan Kishan. I think in terms of middle order batsmen / top order and wicket keepers, he is someone I really think is good, and he's going to be good for the years to come. So I'd really like to see Ishan Kishan. My dark horse person that I would kind of like to see, because I think he might have a decent tournament, is Kuldeep Yadav, left arm wrist spin. I think we haven't seen him for a long time, and ever since he got dropped and then he had his knee injury last season, he's sort of been a bit of a peripheral character, but in terms of his raw talent, he's way up there. And I think he's back in that Indian setup. I think Rohit Sharma quite likes him, and I think he could be a good pickup for Punjab.
Bit of a Ravi Bishnoi replacement almost.
I wish. I'm so sad that Ravi's gone. Right.
What about DC?
Yes, DC. They've retained Prithvi Shaw, who is a strong retention. They've got Rishabh Pant, who's their captain. So number 4, really good batsman and a captain and a wicket keeper. They've got Axar Patel and Anrik Nortje. So there's a very good core there, but it leaves them with not that big a budget. So what are your thoughts, Zach?
My thoughts are, I'm kind of surprised that they retained Prithvi Shaw, because yes, he's very good. And I think Ricky Ponting likes him, which is probably the reason for that. At the same time, that I just wanted them to retain Anrik Nortje and Kayisa Rabada, because they've been winning them games all the time. I think they'll try and get Rabada back. But yeah, I think that what they're missing, which they tried to get with Marcus Stoinis, is that lower order finisher to an innings, that person who can bat 6, maybe bowl you a few overs, is going to strike the ball a long way. And there are a number of players who can fit that mould. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking maybe even Nick Poran, maybe batting down the order. Maybe Krunal Pandya he could fit into that setup quite nicely. Just someone who can bat lower down and score you those big runs is what they need.
Jason Holder, Dwayne Pretorius could be an option as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the role, is it, last year? Because I feel like last year, Stoinis was a bit underutilized, I think. That's what they were using Shimon Hetmai for. Like, he was in that setup to come in at the end and be that, last bit of big hitting. DC did okay last year, didn't they? Really, they were finalists, so it was not like they had a bad year of it. They were, weren't they? Have I just made that up?
No, you're right.
Yeah, Chennai versus DC, wasn't it? I thought I misread. Yeah, just fact checking myself there. But I mean, like,
it was KKR, wasn't it?
Oh,
okay, I can't remember who the final was
Yeah,
last year. Anyway,
it's Kolkata Knight Riders.
DC went a long way, they didn't they? They went quite far.
They got to the playoffs, yeah.
Yeah, they got to the playoffs.
They had that really great core, as you say, Zach, Shikadal and Sherez Iyer, Rabada, Shimon Hetmar. They were their real, big ticket players, and they had some other talent to go around that as well. It would be interesting to see whether they, keep with that core, or they may, try something new. Maybe someone like a Mitch Marsh, who didn't play last year but can bowl a bit and has that lower order hitting, might also fit into that role as well. But having said that, you do also need that number 3, that number 4 to come in, and you need that top order. And I think with just having Prithvi Shaw in it at the minute, and Rishabh Pant, there are still 2 real big holes to fill there, where they could come in with quite a big ticket, where they could come in with quite a big ticket foreign pickup. So maybe someone like Mohammad Nabi, who can bat through, who can bat 4, might also be quite a good pickup for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll think about Ahmedabad Titans. They've just been called out recently, I believe. There was a bit of, are they going to be called Ahmedabad Lions or something like that? Because they are in Gujarat, and there was the Gujarat Lions, I believe. And they have bought 3 very good players. They've got Shubman Gill, Hardik Pandya, and Rashid Khan, who have all been match winners in their various IPL careers and are very strong players. So their core, an all-rounder, spinning all-rounder, one of the best spinners in the world, T20 spinners especially, and a very good young Indian top-order batsman. So they've got a very good core. What do you think they need, James? What do you think they need?
So I'd say, obviously, they're going to need a wicket keeper. So I could see them bidding quite a bit for someone like Ishan Kishan. But they could go overseas. Nicky P might be a good option for them. What was that, sorry?
Quinton de Kock.
Yeah, Bairstow. And then they also need pace bowlers. And I think they're going to want some express pace. So you could see the likes of Lockie Ferguson, Trent Bolt, them going to Ahmedabad for pretty big money, I think. But I mean, they've already got a pace bowler in Rashid Khan. We've seen him live. We know how quickly he can bowl. So,
yeah,
90-mile-an-hour leggies.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
90-mile-per-hour leg spin bounces.
I mean, I was thinking more along a bit of a core batting. So they've got Shubman Gill, who was a class act in KKR's success last year, but they need, some top order. And, I would love to see some big overseas spend here as well. So Devon Conway, we know how good he got on in the World Cup. We say it all the time. Alex Hales, he's in the 3rd round of batting bidding. He always lists himself as an expensive batsman. He would do great, wouldn't he, on those pitches? He's been doing fantastic things in Pakistan now. And another shout to Rassi van der Dussen, who looked impossible to get out in the recent T20s and the one days from South Africa and India. And he just looks like a force to be reckoned with in the T20 World Cup. So there could be, I think for that team, for that new Ahmedabad team with some big backing, you know, come in, spend heavy on some of this overseas talent, and then see how they do. Try and announce themselves big in their first season.
Yeah, out of the two new franchises, based on who they've picked up, I think Ahmedabad are in the best position to potentially go on and win. But obviously, a lot can happen in the auction, and you're not going to win a tournament on 3 players. They need those extra players. And I think one thing you mentioned about Alex Hales, because he's not really been picked up much in the IPL. I think he's been picked up maybe once for Mumbai and didn't get a game because it was in the knockouts or something ridiculous. But I think now there's 10 teams in the tournament. With 10 teams, lots of those players who might have wanted to get in and could have got in or on the fringe can start to come in. So even players like Adil Rashid, for example, you might see them getting picked up because more teams, more players. But yeah, it's going to be good to see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, we'll catch you guys on the next podcast where we will be talking about, I'm just going to rattle some off the top of my head, Lucknow Super Giants and Royal Challengers Bangalore. We're just going to do a 2-team one next time.
So the best till last, haven't we? Yeah, the best till last, I see.
Yeah, so look forward to that, you viewers. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on all social medias at Cricket Nerds Pod. And peace out, nerds.
Oh, that's awful.